I'm going to leave it to him because I can't read my own writing. But basically, he's our next speaker, and I'm going to leave it to him to tell you more about himself. And his name is Andy of Focallocal. Let's get it.
Yeah.
So apologies for the foul up on the introduction. First of all, I'd like to start with an apology. This was all very rushed and I have definitely not prepared very well for this. But I'm just going to stand here and talk and tell you about what I do, and if you think, hey, that sounds really cool, but I have no idea what he just said, just come and find me for a drink afterwards.
Just a second.
Okay. So I'll introduce you to what I do. My project is Focallocal. I've been running it for about a year now. It's kind of debated when it became Focallocal, when it didn't become Focallocal. Became what it is now. And I am trying to build a movement around the world for bringing local people, so people and local communities closer together. Okay.
If you use the other light, we can see the image.
Thank you.
You can see the screen.
I was actually looking for a different image, but these will do fine. So, the first question is, am I bonkers? I've had a lot of ups and downs in the last year, and every time I'm hitting a low point thinking, you know, what am I doing? I'm putting all my time into this, and are people actually enjoying or really getting into what I do, or are they just thinking, hey, this guy's bonkers, but we're going to go on and have a laugh with him? I pop up these photographs, I just look through at all the happy faces, and I think, hey, I kind of made that happen. And so that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to make people happy and trying to make them feel like they live in a closer, more connected community around the world. I saved up all my money working full time, and I've just started on a road trip around the world, and I'm hoping to get to Vietnam, going to cities everywhere I go, setting up our events and our projects to try and bring people and local communities closer together. We've run into a problem already, and most of that money I've saved up has kind of flown out of the window. But rather than coming back here, which I am right now, rather than coming back, I've converted our van to run on vegetable oil, and we're going to keep on going. Because when I'm asking myself, am I bonkers? I think I honestly believe that I have a message that can work and a project that can take off, and I'm trying to turn it into a movement. I don't know if I'm the right person to do it or not, but I'm convinced that it is a possibility. Okay. So I was invited here specifically to talk about free hugs, so I'll bring up that campaign of ours first. Free hugs was started by an Australian guy, so it's not mine, we've just adopted it. Started by an Australian guy who was just feeling a little bit disconnected from the people around him, just really wanted a hug. So he went into a local shopping centre with a sign, free hugs, and just stood there and waited until people started coming to hug him. We've adopted it because it's the most fantastically simple way to bring people together and to remind them that people around them are happy, friendly people, and to remind them that they live in a close community. And if you imagine, I tend to work with troubled youth when I'm not doing this. Before I was doing this, when I was saving up for this. If you imagine young people who grow up in a world where they feel like they have to defend themselves, it's not a safe world, then they walk down the street and there's somebody there with a free hug sign. Or one of our events, we bring lots of bottles of bubbles, and everyone has to bring 2 bottles of bubbles, so it's like a flash mob. But the purpose is not for us to blow bubbles, the purpose is for us to give the bubbles to people walking past and for them to blow bubbles. So you've got this young lad growing up, or this young lady growing up, feeling like they live in a world that's not very safe. And we give them the bubbles, and we smile and we laugh together. They're like, oh, hey, you know, people around me are not that bad, you know. There's lots of friendly, happy people here. So that's why we adopted the free hugs, which actually, for me, was quite a difficult one, because I grew up in very much a non-hugging culture. So I'm running the free hugs, I've organised it, and we started off in Trafalgar Square, and I would be on the bus on the way down there going, I'm going to look like a right pillock. And I'm just sitting on the bus going, this is the weirdest thing ever. I hope, like, yeah, no one I grew up with sees me. But yeah, I did it for a while, and I started to get really into it. I started to look at the science of the free hugs, and scientists who are measuring, like, scanning your body. After a certain amount of time, your body releases oxytocin, I believe, or have I got that mixed up? But it releases a chemical. They can measure this chemical release, which makes you feel happier, more comfortable, and more open to the person who you've just hugged. So now I probably give hugs a little bit too often, and people who've just met me, they're like, hey, this guy's a bit touchy-feely. And I'm like, oh, I should read that a little bit better. But yeah, I've really taken the free hugs, and it's definitely made me feel closer to the people around me, some of who are up here now. Okay, so we have campaigns we're trying to set up, or we run, and I'm taking them around the world now. So we've been running them in London for a while. I felt like I wanted to move to different cities and try and get them going in different cities all around the world at the same time. So free hugs is one of them. We do a pillow fight for connection where everyone brings 2 pillows, and as someone's walking past, we say, hey, here, take a pillow, come and have fun with us. And that's a fantastic one. In my van on the road trip, I have 100 spare pillows. And they're a massive, everywhere you turn there's a pillow, it's ridiculous. We have a Take a Smile event where you write Take a Smile on a sign, and we put little rips in them, and smiley faces, and we just go to people, hey, would you like a smile? And invariably 90% of the people think, hey, this guy's trying to sell me something. It's like, no, just take a smile, I just wanted to give you a smile. These are the 4 main ones we do. We do an open skill sharing where people come to a park or a public space. We put a sign saying, join us, learn something new, share something new, and people just come along and they teach juggling or website design or anything. It's just the open sharing of skills. And this Saturday, I'd love to invite you all down to a project that we do called the Musical Connection, where we make musical instruments out of trash, so we upcycle musical instruments, and you can bring your own, like, proper musical instruments if you can play them. That's also cool. And we take a big bag of them on the tube, and as we see people, everyone we meet, the purpose of the event is to give them an instrument and say, hey, come and play music with us. Now come and share a bit of creativity, come and feel connected to the people around you. And so this Saturday we're going to be meeting at Green Park at around about 2 o'clock. I'm not a very organised person, which makes me possibly not the best events organiser ever. But I think it's 2 o'clock at Green Park, and if you would like to come, just come and ask me afterwards. And we're going to be taking instruments on the train and creating this wonderful oasis of happiness and connection and musical creativity. And we have about maybe 12 or 13 or 14 other events. We're always looking to add new ones to the repertoire. But those are the ones that we're repeating monthly. The other ones we set up every now and then. Coming up quite soon, we have an Inspire My City, where in all the cities I'm trying to gather groups that are already connected and say, hey, on this one day, we're going to go to chalks and we're going to write positive quotes all over the city, because maybe there's somebody who needs those words right now. Maybe those words are going to reach that person and hit them and actually change their life. I have words written on the side of my van, and when I had trouble at the start of the trip, I read them and I was like, yeah, I can keep going. So we're hoping that those words will find the right person at the right time. And, are you allowed to quote yourself? What did I write now? I wrote, when I was having a down moment, I kind of packaged it all together, and I wrote on the side of my van, there is a picture somewhere, if you keep watching for it, it might come. I wrote, it doesn't matter, as long as I keep on moving forwards, I can put on the spot here, I might come back to that. I'll come back to it, I will.
It's on the
I'm a
Facebook
little bit
page.
nervous. This is my first time public speaking. Thank you. Okay, so we also use our campaigns to create projects which are a little bit more involving for people who've got a bit more time and they want to really do something with them. So we use them like tools. So for example, last week in Barcelona, we did the Take a Smile event. We went to an asylum centre where I'm sure there are lots of people who've just arrived in the country. And we said, hey, these people probably are a bit like nervous about what to expect here. Take a smile, welcome to the country. So it's a very simple way of using that event. But it was a little bit more. It was reaching out to an isolated group and trying to bring them closer together. So we have projects, like I say, our mission is to bring people and local communities closer together. So we have projects which bring isolated groups closer together. Also in Barcelona, we're doing a theatre project with prostitutes to try and get them to put on a presentation, a theatre presentation, to tell the local community about their lives and their life story. So it's an isolated group. It's like, hey, this is how we live. We're not the prostitutes. We are people who are we are normal people and we have real lives. What else do we have? We have 2 possibly 3 community gardens opening up, and we're going to invite homeless people from the homeless community and long-time jobless people to come and join in these community gardens. And we found the gardens, we found the charities who will invite people along. We're just looking for people who want to be part of that. So if anyone here wants to help set that up, please let me know afterwards. 2 of those are in London, and 1 of those is in Barcelona, which probably won't come from here.
Andy, I'm just going to wind up.
To wind up.
To take some questions.
So I do believe I have wound up. Well,
first time speaking in public, I think someone give him a hug. Yeah, give him a hug. Right, yeah. My first time too. Oh. Okay, Andy, excellent. Focallocal, doing good things all over Europe, by the sound of it. Would that be a fair description?
Yeah, the idea is to try and get to Vietnam.
All over the world, in fact.
Yeah.
So, questions, please. Let's move it along. Quickly, questions. Yes?
Why Vietnam?
Why Vietnam?
Well, I have a van, and I was looking at where I could get to and where I couldn't get to. I have quite a few contacts in Africa, but I was looking at going for Africa, but it's really hot. And also, I tend to feel that African communities are a little bit more connected. I mean, our projects will obviously have to take a slight turn when we get to places like the Middle East for cultural sensitivity, but I also really like the idea of trying to challenge that as much as we can without upsetting too many people.
Next question.
Here.
Yep, go.
I just want to make something, which is that you did 2 projects in London. One for the Cultural Olympiad, which is when we brought the arts of the Arab uprisings to close the London Tortoise Festival. I'm speaking from that. Focallocal provided all the volunteers over 6 weeks and did an astonishing job throughout the Olympiad of that. So just to say that their solidarity with people in the uprisings was quite extraordinary. And my Arab artists, North African artists who came in, found it quite extraordinary to find the groups of people you work with. So just to say, it really worked for us. My question to you is that why is it that you're going to Europe when the work you could do in London alone could take up every night? Why are you traveling out there?
Well, I think you just said it. My work in London took up every night. I had no social life. I was working non-stop because I was also working full-time to save up the money to support the project. And I felt like while I was in London, my community would look to me to run all the events because why would they set stuff up if I'm doing things? Some of the projects we had people come into and that was going quite well. But I thought by moving away and bringing more communities around the world in, I felt that it would hopefully make it more autonomous. And I'm not a very good organiser, so I am struggling to bring people in. It's something that I'm learning and I'm reading about, like how to bring people in, how to organise them without sounding like I'm either doing too much or too little. But that's what I'm trying to build, is a community that kind of self-runs. And at some point I don't want to be Andy at Focallocal anymore. I want to be Andy who's a part of Focallocal.
Excellent. One last question. At the back.
Do you measure how the communities become more connected?
Well, it's a very difficult thing to measure. I mean, when I'm feeling down, I open up this folder on my computer which just says happy people. And I sit there and I'm like, hey, these people are getting something from this. I think it's something you can only measure by being there. You see the happiness, you see people interacting and having fun with people they haven't met before. You see people on the tube who would normally be sitting there being silent. Oh, you should come on Saturday. You see people who would normally be sitting there silently, and instead they're talking, they're playing, and they're using our activities as a focal point to connect with people around them.
And this is at Green Park at around 2 o'clock.
Around about 2 o'clock.
Around about 2 o'clock.
If you can,
Sometimes
if you can see
between
the
midnight.
website, if you go to the website, you'll see it a lot better.
Let's have a round of applause for them.
Sorry guys, I just had one question from behind, which was a very good question. The website is focallocal.org, and you can find us on Facebook just by searching for Focallocal. It's all one word, focal and local. Thank you.
Thank you. Right, before we meet our final speaker, I just want to narrow these down to the top two, and we'll decide the winner at the end. Just go quick response, yeah, or just cheer if you like it. A campaign